G'day guys, it's Mark here from North Oz, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the budget lithium battery setup that I've got in my Prado now, and also that I had in the truck before. So I feel like that it's been about a year now, and I'll be able to give you guys a little bit of information about how the budget lithium batteries really hold up over the space of a year, and also through cycling and through really difficult terrain that I've been taking my trucks over the last a year and a bit. So for those of you that have just joined our channel, you would know that we've got the 2022 Prado that may have brought you to the channel, but that's a towing rig. So that isn't this vehicle here. It's a little bit confusing. We've got two Prados here on the channel. We've got the perfect Prado build that I coined, I guess you could say, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. And that's our 2021 Prado that we've got here, and then we've got a 2022 Prado that we've been doing some stuff to as well. So today we're talking about the 2021 perfect Prado build and a little bit about lithium batteries. So stick around, let's roll the intro and we'll get into today's video. So before we really get stuck into today's video, guys, I just want to be fully transparent because this is pretty much the first time that I've really had this sort of thing happen to the channel. And it's been over a year now where I haven't really said anything about it because I haven't really brought it up. So this battery that I've got in this car here is a Voltax branded battery. It's a very budget battery, one of the cheapest ones that I found on the market actually. And I approached a company called Outbacks, who are a supplier of this battery. I sent them an email to their sales department and said, is it possible if, well, first of all, I'm going to buy the battery anyway, but would you like to work with me in terms of maybe giving me some sort of discount? I did receive a bit of a discount on this battery. It was something like 10% roughly. So I ended up getting it for around like $400-ish. By making this video as well, by giving the company some publicity, I will also be getting a small amount of money back as well. Hopefully I can continue working with the company Outbacks because so far they've actually been quite good. I've asked them a few questions about some of their regulators that I was having an issue with and trying to get set up properly. So just so you guys understand, I didn't get this given to me for free. I did pay for it with my own money, but I did get a discount on it because of the channel. So with that out of the way, let's get started. Are lithium batteries, are they the budget ones anyway? How do they go over a long period of time? Because when I check all the forums and I check all the, when I check all the videos online, everyone says avoid them. Avoid them at all costs. And now, really only in the last couple months, I've seen all these YouTubers coming out saying, I'm moving to lithium, I'm moving to budget lithium, I'm doing this. And I just think to myself, well, I've been doing this for well over a year now. And when the lithium batteries kind of first came out and when the cheaper ones came out, I jumped on that straight away. So I feel like I'm in a really good position to give you guys some information about how these things actually hold up in the real world after well over a year of use. So with that out of the way, the actual brand of the battery that I've got here is called a Voltax. It's a 100 amp hour lithium LiFePO4 battery. Pretty standard. That's kind of what you would expect to see on, that kind of branding, that kind of, those kind of words, those key terms you would expect to see on batteries, 3-4 times as expensive. I'm not going to go into all the really technical details in terms of what makes up a LiFePO4 battery, but understand this really is that the cheaper batteries have a reputation, and this is what I was told, and this is what I did my research on when I first got into the batteries, is that they are basically held together with cells. So there's cells of lithium batteries. This is my understanding, is there's cells of lithium batteries. Between those cells, connecting those cells are basically connections, and that then forms the full battery system itself. Now, I was told, and I have, from my research, have been advised, I guess, is that those connections are weak. So when you take those onto a full drive track, they will essentially, those connections come loose and they break. So if you guys can kind of understand that as kind of the background in terms of, you know, I was under the impression that the lithium batteries are, you know, are weak. The budget ones are anyway. So that's where I kind of came from. I was like, you know what? You know, it's like 400-ish bucks. Full retail on this battery, by the way, was $480 at the time. And, you know, I thought, well, it beats spending $1,500 on a battery. Even if it lasts for 2-3 years, it's still better than buying an AGM battery because it's, well, cheaper at the time when I did the cost comparison. So that kind of left me with, well, okay, I bought this battery. Let's test it out. We'll see how it goes. Worst case scenario, it breaks, and I have something to tell you guys. Best case scenario, it works perfectly, and again, I have something to tell you guys. So I've taken this battery now. I put the day that I got it, I put it straight into my Navara at the time, my big green monster, and I made a whole budget, series about how to basically do lithium battery setup for under $1,000. I even did a cost breakdown. I did a whole series on it, and you know, it did pretty well, that series, which is good. I had a lot of good feedback from that, and it worked. You know, that truck build, that it just worked. You know, I had it hooked up with the solar regulator, and straight into the battery. And I ran it like that for like 4 or 5 months, and I would basically just run the battery until it hit rock bottom every single time. So, and then I would charge up again, and then I would run the fridge again. And I'd normally get about 4 to 5 days out of it with just the solar, no DC to DC charging, nothing. So, you know, I had it in that build before this one is all I'm really trying to say. So then when I had got the Prado, which, you know, was probably about 8 months ago now, I did have a professional install the battery, although like I did the custom work myself in terms of finding a spot for it, but I did get my lights and stuff hooked up. I've done a whole video on that. And I do also have a DC to DC charger in here as well, a Red Arc one now. So, you know, it's been through a couple of builds now, this battery. I've taken it on a lot of tracks. I've taken it to a lot of camping sites. I've used it for a long period of time. I've used it to charge up phones, cameras. I've used it to basically power my fridge, which is the main thing I wanted, was to have a fridge. And it's done that really, really well. So in terms of just my initial thoughts, if this is as far as you get in the video, my initial thoughts are that it's a great battery and it's worked brilliantly. Let's talk about some of the pros and cons, because although the battery works fine, it's great, you also have to consider where I live in Cairns, where it's quite hot. And Australia also has a lot of hot places, obviously. So we'll talk a little bit about that now, and we'll have a look at the pros and cons, and maybe if this battery is or is not right for you. So some of the pros I guess we could talk about is, one, over all the other batteries as well, but the lithium batteries are like this, they're lightweight. The battery is easy for me to get in and out of the car if I want to. It is screwed down at the moment. I screwed the battery box that I bought just from an automotive store. I've screwed that down into my setup right now, and it's really easy to pull in and out of the car. If I had 200 amp hours of AGM batteries, that would be a lot more difficult because obviously the weight of it would be huge. So it's lightweight. It's tough. It's handled the tracks I've thrown at it so far. Obviously, this is a 1-year review, so I'm not sure what it's going to be like in the future, but I'm just taking it as it comes. It's held up fine on the tracks. I've beat it up on the tracks. The connections are still fine. It's still putting out 100 amp hours of capacity, and it's still working fine. It still charges my fridge that I've got in the back. It keeps it going. Charges all my phones, whatever it is that I have, powers my lights at the campsite as well. It does everything. So I haven't had any issues with its performance. So some of the cons I guess we should look at is, I did have an issue with the battery when I drained it fully, and this only happened once. It wasn't in my green truck. In my green truck, it was fine. I could basically drain the battery all the way down. and the solar panel would top it up eventually. But I had an issue with it in this car where I didn't have my solar panel hooked up to it, but I did have my inverter and stuff hooked up to it, and it dropped out of power. So I drained all the power in it, obviously, and I couldn't get it started back up. So what I ended up doing was I got one of the car chargers that we have here just for, putting some life back into your normal car battery. So I plugged that in there for about 3 or 4 hours, and it ended up being able to accept charge again. So I think there must have been something with the battery management system where it got down to a certain point where it just, I don't know, maybe I didn't have enough charge in the solar panel or whatever it was that I had it hooked up to. I can't remember at the time what exactly it was that I had it hooked up to, but it just wouldn't receive the charge. So when I gave it from the 240 volt through the car charger, when I gave it that, then it was fine and it was ready to go again. I haven't had any issues since then. So so I just thought to myself that if I only had, pretty sure it was a solar panel I was trying to get it charged back up on, and yeah, it just wasn't doing it. So if I was out in the bush and it drained all the way down and I was relying on the solar panel to try and boot it back up again, that obviously wouldn't be working. So that was something I was a little bit funny about. So that's only happened once. Hasn't happened since then, so that's not something that I'm too concerned about. The other thing as well, guys, is the fact that obviously it's very hot here in Cairns. In the car, I've measured the temperature in the car a lot of the time, and it's well over 60 degrees. And the statistics on these batteries tell us that they don't work very well in the heat. For both accepting charge, they also discharge as well. There's a number of things that can happen. So obviously when it's been 65 degrees in the car, I've had some issues with it draining quickly. I've had some issues with it not accepting some charge. I can't give you guys specific data in terms of, it lost 10% efficiency or whatever. I'd love to do that. But, I can just tell you just from my experience that, I have had some issues where I'm just like, I thought I had more charge in it and I thought it was fully charged. And then I've plugged my fridge into it for a little bit, and then it's just drained a little bit faster than I was expecting. So just from my experiences, I have noticed that the heat does seem to mess it up a little bit. Not so much in this car, because my old car was basically just like it was basically like a can. I had no insulation in it at all, no sound deadening, nothing. And it was right at the back where it was really, really hot too. In this car here, it's got a lot of insulation in it, so I haven't really had those issues with this car. So yeah, that's just, again, something that I've noticed more in the previous build, more so than this build. But yeah, just keep that in mind, that if you're keeping it, especially in like the canopy of your truck, that you obviously will probably see some performance issues, and you might want to, and I think it's the same with a lot of the lithium batteries and batteries in general, but just maybe do some comparisons, ask around to see if maybe the more expensive batteries have better efficiencies in the high heat. But that's just my opinion. I haven't felt like I need to, swap out this battery for a battery that's $1,500 because of this issue. So that's just my opinion, of course. So overall, would I purchase this battery again? Well, it's pretty funny that we should have this discussion, because I am looking potentially at getting a camper trailer. So if you've made it this far in the video, you've got a little bit of an insight over people who may have dropped out a little bit earlier. I'm thinking about getting a camper trailer. I really like the idea of it. I've got my eye on a few different ones. I'm looking at Jayco. I might go and I'm actually going to go tomorrow and have a bit of a look around, see what they have, get an idea of how I might be able to fit that around my camping life, and see if that's good for me or not. I'm not too sure. So I'm thinking about it. So I would be putting a lithium battery in there, and 100% I would buy one of these in a heartbeat. This has not skipped a beat. It's been perfect. It's been everything that I want it to be. It's always charged up my stuff, held charge, everything. So, and if I was going to do build another like mini lithium build, I guess for a camper trailer or whatever, I would use something like a 300 amp hour battery, because the budget 300 amp hour batteries cost as much as like a 80 or 100 amp hour battery from, I guess, a more reputable company or more well-known company. So, you know, I would get the 300 amp hour one and run that aircon for 4 or 5 hours longer. You know, so yeah, I guess that's something to consider, is that if I was to do another lithium project again, I would much rather spend the extra $1,000 that I was going to spend on a higher end battery and put that towards an extra camping trip throughout the year. For me, that's just my opinion, of course. If you would like to purchase this battery, I'll put a link to it in the description as well, so that you can kind of find it. Of course, it's going to be the updated one, so it's going to be the 2022 version. So just keep that in mind. It won't look exactly like mine is in here, but as far as I'm aware, they've really changed not a lot about it. So that pretty much covers everything, guys. If you have any questions about it, let me know. It's obviously very difficult to do these videos, you know, about electrical systems, because it's just basically sitting there inside the car. I can't really get it out and show you guys anything. So I will answer any questions and comments you guys have. Just let me know, all right? You guys know that have been with me for a while that I get to all your comments. So just put them in there, and I'm happy to answer any that you have. And you know, a lot of people are going over to a lot of YouTubers as well. A lot of people are really trying to push the budget lithium stuff. You know, I've been doing it for well over a year now. It's been going great. Haven't had any issues. So yeah, so if you're a little bit concerned about it, I wouldn't be. You know, in my opinion, it's been going fine. It's done the job, and that's all. You know, I guess people really need to know, I suppose, is, you know, are you getting ripped off? In my opinion, no. It's been fine. So yeah. So like I said, chuck anything in the comments that I might have missed, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.